Hello my friends, welcome back to another tutorial. I have another lovely little snow scene for you. I hope you don't mind snow scenes. I'm just in the snow scene mood. A beautiful soft snow scene. Lovely cool mauves and pinks, and a few purples going through there as well. Nice and simple. I think in this tutorial I'm going to be focusing on painting trees. Nice simple trees covered in snow. All right, a little bit of sun in the distance, a nice little, maybe perhaps a sunrise, we call it, and lovely warm snow. So a nice simple tutorial, a couple of trees going off into the distance. I think it's on a lake, but it's very kind of iced over. So nice, soft, subtle colours today. A nice simple snow scene for you to try. I think you'll like this one. I've my stuff ready here. Let's have a bit of fun with this. Grab your things if you want to get painting along with me. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you for your support. I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. I have a 16 by 12 canvas here. This is not primed. It's a fairly good canvas. I don't think I need to prime it. Also, I want the dryness slightly out of the canvas for the trees. I'll show you later when we're coming to the trees, okay? Now, I noticed a slight little bow in my canvas here. When I frame this now, you see there's going to be a slight bend in the canvas, but I can just give this a little bit of a pull when I'm framing it, just to get it nice and straight. Some canvases can be like this. Let me get a straight edge and show you what I mean. So I have a straight edge here. If I put this on top of the canvas, see that? You can see that gap there already. There's a big bend in the canvas. This does happen with a lot of canvases, really. So I will just give this a little bit of a stretch when I'm framing it and put a screw in the back into the frame, and it'll be fine. There's a reference photograph. Isn't that beautiful? Lovely soft colours on a kind of a lake with the sun and some lovely trees coming up on the left-hand side. We're going to have some fun with this, I think. I have a palette here with my colours. I'll tell you what I have. Titanium white, Naples yellow, cadmium yellow pale. I put some burnt sienna on this palette, but I don't need it, okay? That was for a different painting. I was going to paint in kind of an autumn scene, but I changed my mind at the last minute. So I'm going to take this off, just so you don't get confused, okay? Let me just get rid of this. Also, I have magenta, phaylo blue, some alizarin crimson, lamp black, and burnt umber. And those few colours will do absolutely fine for what we need here. Okay, let's go and have a bit of fun with this. All right, I'll take a pencil, and if I can find one, I am just going to put a very light sketch just across, just for the trees. Let me get a brush because I can't find my pencil anywhere. I'll take a little touch of black. Let's imagine we have a pencil in our hands here, okay? I'm just going to do a very rough, very quick kind of a sketch of the water line. I'm going to come around like that. Let's just say it's like that. The trees, they start off very low, don't they? And they come up and up and up like that. Lovely big tree up there. I think that's all we need right now. In fact, you'll probably even get away with doing no sketch on this, to be quite honest. There's very little there. Let's start painting, my friends. Let's start painting. I'm taking a big flat brush. Just going to dampen this and make sure I have no paint in this brush. I want to keep it nice and make sure it's nice and clean. Okay, I'll start with this lovely bright yellow colour we have there. It's a very bright whitey colour. It's not vivid. It's not a very vivid yellow. So let's take some titanium white, some Naples yellow, and a little touch of cadmium. Now, a tiny touch of cadmium yellow. Okay, that's all you need really. Tiniest little touch. And let's just put this in over here. I'm just taking my time now, very gently. Take your time. No rush whatsoever with this. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of yellow in there. Then I'm going to take some white on its own, a little dab of white, and pop a little bit of white in the centre. Now you can keep adding and adding white as much as you want. But remember, the more paint you add, the messier it's going to get. It's going to get very messy very quickly. Now you probably can't see that very well, but it's there, don't worry. I'll take a little touch of Naples yellow, and I'm just going to pop some Naples yellow around that as well, just on top. Okay. Now from here on, we're going nice soft colours. So I'm going to go with a little magenta into that mix, okay? Go right into that very same mix. Titanium white, a little magenta, and some Naples yellow. So we're ending up now with a very soft kind of a pinky colour, okay? And I want to keep this nice and soft and light because I'm going to have nice dark trees. That's going to be a lovely contrast in the painting. So you can keep this nice and soft. Softening it right through that yellow, just around the edges, look. Very gently around the edges, down the sides. And you can probably tell now that I'm putting on a very small amount of paint on this canvas. I'm really making very thin mixes and sparing the paint and just dragging the paint across the canvas, okay? That's what I'm doing. Now Naples yellow again, magenta. Get this lovely warm colour. Now as it comes up and across, I'm going to start adding touches of blue into this. Just a tiny touch of blue, look. And be very careful with that blue because it's a very strong colour, phthalo blue. Very strong. So do be careful. So now it's going a bit more purpley, isn't it? Look, a bit more of a mauve. Lovely mauve colour. We can go right through our trees as well. Don't worry about the trees. Soften that right around your sun. And you can see it's so thin. I really have a very small layer on this. Very thin layer of paint. Now I'm going to start cooling this ever so slightly as it goes up and across, okay? So I have a little magenta, some white, and a touch more of the blue. But it's still quite pinky, isn't it? Let's try a touch of crimson. Tiny touch. Now I really have very little amounts, you see that? Now let's take some white into that. It's a little bit on the dark side still. And I'm really scrubbing this onto the canvas and dragging it around. The trick with this, I find, is not to put on too much paint. Traditionally with oil painting, a lot of people will put on a lot of paint, very thick layers of paint. I prefer early on to keep it nice and light and thin, because your thick layers will stick much better to this when you're putting them on later, and particularly for our trees. There we go. Very thin layer, so thin. If you want, you can leave some of the brush strokes in there. It's up to yourself, really. Okay, so let's go more phthalo blue and some magenta and white. Now, as it comes across, it's much bluer in colour, okay? So it's nice and warm and pinky down by the sun, and then it comes over and it gets very soft and light and cool. A little bit more blue. Again, don't worry about your trees. And as a tutorial for trees, I think this is going to be wonderful because it's so easy to paint snow-covered trees, okay? It really is. It's so simple. I'm going to show you. Now, I think that's fine. I'm okay with that. I think I will switch brushes, put this down. I'm going to get another brush. Let me see now what I'm going to go for. I have a nice soft one here, but it's quite worn. You see that? Very worn. This is fine. This is absolutely fine. Give that a clean. Just make sure it's nice and clean, that there's no colours in there. And I can already see a touch of green in my brush when I dry it. So I'm going to give it a good clean. Make sure there's all that colour is gone. Now, we'll go with a very warm. So I see it's very warm and pinky, and then it gets cooler and cooler as it comes up. Let's start. Let's get some crimson. And you can see how thin these mixes are. Look, they're very thin. Some white, some crimson. And I want to take a touch of cadmium yellow. That just warms it nicely, I find. Now let's put this in. I'm just going to kind of very gently soften that over into my sun. You see that? You can even hear the way I'm scrubbing this around on the canvas. Now I'm going to soften it into the sky slightly to create that lovely soft misty feeling, just with the tip of my brush, you see? Very, very gently allowing it to disappear into the sun. Now I'll stop there. I'm going to start adding this blue into the mix. I just picked up some of this mauve blue we have here, mixed it in with your crimson and start putting that in. And we get these different little hues, you see, cools and warms, all mixed into the same colour. Okay, now just stop and take a step back, have a look, make sure you're happy with it, and let's keep going. Let's start getting darker and cooler. So, some alizarin crimson, little magenta, and some phthalo blue. See how strong that phthalo blue is? It just overpowers the colour very, very quickly. So let's go back into some magenta, take some of that, and a little white. The white just making it thick and opaque and helping the paint cover much, much easier. And maybe a little crimson. So we're just going to play around with our colours now. That's what we're going to do really. And see what we can come up with. So let's pop some of that in there, soften it through a little here and there. And then we're coming up and putting in the rough outline of the tree, okay? And we'll finish it then with perhaps a fan brush or something like that. And again, I don't want to make it exactly the same as the photograph. I want to just kind of use the colours really. I'm putting the trees in myself as I feel. You know what I mean? But definitely a nice high one here on this side. Crimson, phthalo blue, little magenta as well. And we can just go up like this, look. See what I mean? Pulling it down like that. And just to try and remember that this is kind of the underneath of the trees, okay? This is the dark colour underneath. I'm putting white over this, a light blue actually. So, you know, I'm trying to keep in mind that this will be the darker shade underneath. So we'll have a lot of snow going over this, so not to worry too much, okay? You don't have to be perfect with this part of the painting. This is just a base layer. Let's just call it a base layer, the bottom colour. Okay, so I'm going to go as far as here. We have a nice big one in the front. You see this one in the front? So I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to now put in just this darker section at the back up here. Phthalo blue, magenta, and a touch of black. We'll go up here and pop that in, look. Again, it's just very, very rough representation, okay? I'm not trying to be absolutely perfect with this. Now your fan brush will be ideal for this as well. If you want to use a fan brush and just mess around with your fan brush, have a bit of fun with the brush, you can. Do try it. It's a lot of fun. And I will probably get my fan brush in just a moment. But I'm just going to use this very rough brush just to pop in a few little darks here and there. Okay? You can see these lovely colours now starting to come together, can't you? Let's get some magenta and some burnt umber. And what I'm going to do is just simply, I'll show you now, with this warm dark browny pink, just going to start putting in a couple of flicks like that, look. just to suggest a little bit of detail. So these little darks, you see that? It'll make all the difference later on. Okay, I'm going to move my fan brush. And quite simply, I'm just going to take the corner of my fan brush and just mix a bit of paint. Some phthalo blue, some magenta. And then see, I'm just going to suggest some little parts of the tree up there. You could flick it around, you can just dab it. It's entirely up to yourself. It's just really to add a little bit of texture to the tree, that's all. Okay. No, that's okay. The next thing I'm going to do is start putting in a few little twigs and tree trunks, that kind of thing. Let's take some black and some magenta. And perhaps a little blue. And with that, let's just very simply pop in an impression of a couple of branches and things like that, okay, coming up. And make this very watery, okay? Very watery, like a watercolour. That'll help it give you nice fine lines. And see the way I'm just sort of hitting and missing with this? It's really a hit and miss type of a technique. I'm just popping a couple of little flicks with the brush in just here and there, okay? Remember, we'll have a lot of snow over this, so there's no worry about getting this absolutely right. Absolutely no worry at all. Now, it's just the odd one or two, that's all. Okay. Next, I want to pop a little snow on this. And this is where we have to be careful. And we need the right brush for this as well. So I'm going to try, I might try a few different brushes. I might try this one first. This is a very soft brush, but it's really worn. You see this? It's a synthetic brush, really worn. You could try bristle brushes as well, but I think I would normally use a very worn brush for painting snow on trees because it gives us a very rough texture, a very random kind of a texture. So let me just give it a quick clean. And let's try it. Okay, I'm going to go for a very light blue. Take some phthalo blue, not too much, and then lots of white. You could add a touch of magenta if you want, just to give us this very bright, snowy sort of a colour. Okay, bright white, bluey snow sort of a colour. And let's just, okay, let's just go for it. Let's just start popping little touches of snow in here and there, look. You see how random that is. I'm simply just dabbing the brush. That's all I'm doing. Dab, 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 dab. Now, further out here, it starts getting warmer and pinker, okay? So I'm just adding more crimson. So it's a very, very bright pink further out. Okay. So let's try that again. Some crimson and some white. And a nice light pink, look. And I'm simply using the corner of my brush. And that just allows the paint to go on very sort of randomly. Do you understand what I mean? And it gives just a nice natural effect as well. for snow-covered trees. Okay, I'm going to put a very kind of a deep mauve inside, just inside that. So I get some magenta, phthalo blue, and some white. And I'm going to put that, it's a really nice, deep kind of a mauve, isn't it? I'm going to try that colour just in here. Maybe a little more blue. So I want this quite dark, this colour, but not very, very dark, if you understand what I mean. It's just a very deep mauve. I think a bit more blue in there. That should do it. There we go. See that nice rich blue now? That's really bringing the shadow to life, isn't it? And I'm simply using the corner of my brush, okay? The corner of a very worn brush is perfect for this. And pop a little across as well, just to kind of bring it over. Now I want to start just darkening it ever so slightly. Phthalo blue, magenta, and a touch of black. And just up here, look, I want to just darken it ever so slightly. Okay, now I'm going to leave it at that. I think that's fine. Isn't that lovely and soft now? Lovely soft snow scene. So far, so good. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting in this little touch of land across the front of it. You see that? Take another flat brush, clean flat brush, and I need to get some white. I think this is going to look really nice now with a nice frame, with a black insert around the frame, don't you think? Let's get some white and come down here and mix a nice warm pink again. Let's get some crimson and some Naples yellow. I'm going to start with that colour. Okay, I'm going to use that colour now to come down into the water here. It's an ice over river, okay? And soften that up into the sun colour. So you can see why I came down slightly past the horizon with my yellow for the sun. So I could soften all of this in together. Make a lovely, soft, moody snow scene. Okay, I'm going to start cooling this down now again. So I'm going to start picking up some of the blue. Again, some mauve, a little blue. You can see it just kind of gets more and more cool the further it comes in. Bring that over, just let it soften out. And you can almost not even tell where the water edge meets the land. It's very difficult to tell, isn't it? Also, you can see I'm only using tiny amounts of paint in this, okay? I'm not going crazy with the paint. And it just makes it much easier when you're putting new colours on top. Because, as I was saying earlier, if you put on lots of very thick paint, it just gets very messy very quickly. And it's very difficult to control your colour on the canvas if it's very thick and messy like that. It's very difficult to control. So that's why I always use thin layers to begin with, okay? Nice thin layers. Now, a little bit of blue, magenta, and touch of that black. And I'm going to come across here just to show the line of the water there. Let's take a hint more magenta and a hint more black. A lot of this is really is just trial and error, isn't it? You're just trying something. If it doesn't work, go back to your palette. Now let's start getting some nice snow in here. Phthalo blue, lots of white. And let's start popping a little snow in up here, look. There we go, down like that. Creating just little touches of detail along that bank. You can even soften it out if you like as well. Then we can take some magenta with some white, and we can pop some of that through here and there. It's really, you can, if you look closely at the reference photograph, it's just lots of kind of lights and darks popping through here and there. And don't worry, I will add more to the water later on. This is just the very early stages really. Now I'm going to take some of that white with some crimson and some Naples yellow. And come down here, pop that in. Let's just fill this section of the canvas down here, shall we? So you can keep this nice and simple. Okay, now more white again. I'm going to fill in now just this big chunk of snow here. Let's get really, and remember at the end of this as well, I can use the palette knife, okay, to make it nice and thick. So don't worry, this is still very, very early on in the painting. Just creating the edge of the bank there, okay, just roughly. It's almost softening into the water, that bank. It's a very, very flat kind of a bank. Goes right down into the water. Pop a little bit of white in here and there. Look, just give us a little bit of texture, the feeling of thick snow on the bank here and there. Then I'm going to start adding some nice darks into this. So I'm going to go with magenta, some blue and a little black. And I want to really get some nice darks in here, just here and there. Let's go with a bit of crimson actually as well. And it's really only just for contrast, all right? I'm just getting a bit of contrast in the painting, that's all. I'll be softening all of this later on, okay, don't worry. Pop a little bit up there, look, just to suggest some rough ground. Lots of rough ground around. And I know this all looks very higgledy-piggledy at the moment, but for example, when I start softening this together, okay, you'll see it just kind of merges together and creates a nice soft feeling. See? And when I'm painting like this, I'm always thinking about the next stage. So for instance, I'm putting in all these little darks because I know very soon I'm going to be getting my palette knife and putting in some bright colored snow on top of this. So I'm just getting my darks in there first. That's really all I'm doing, okay? It's trying to kind of think one step ahead, if you understand what I mean. For me anyway, that's what I try to do. I'm thinking one step ahead all of the time. Now I'm getting some nice warm colour just up here. I'm going to soften that in. See, just there and there. Then I'll take some crimson with some white and naples yellow. So you can see now I'm getting slightly thicker with my colours, aren't I? So that's helping to stick better over this thin layer, you see? And it's covering much nicer then. So it's not mixing too much. And I'm not mixing it too much in either. I'm just kind of putting it on and leaving it almost. I'm not kind of softening and softening constantly. Okay, I'll leave it at that. So we have a feeling of a lake coming together now, don't we? The next thing I'm going to do is get a palette knife. And I'm going to just start creating some, little touches of snow here and there. Look. See what I mean? I'm just kind of dragging the palette knife along. Very gently, just allowing the paint to come off of the palette knife rather than me pushing the paint onto the canvas. So I'm allowing the canvas to sort of drag off the paint just here and there. It takes a bit of practice. Look, I suppose the main thing with all of this is just to have yourself some fun with this. Okay, don't be afraid. So you can see it's just, it comes together, doesn't it? I wanted a lake as well. I'm just going to drag a few of those across the lake here and there, just to give it that nice sort of frosty feeling. Then I'll take some white with phthalo blue. And I'll go on with a bit of that. And our final step then later will be just putting some nice bright whites on there, okay? Let's get this big tree done here. I'd like to see that finished. So I'm going to first, let's have a look. I'm going to first put a nice bright colour around the outside first. I can see that nice sort of fuzzy white feeling around the outside of that. So I'm going to start with that. And I'm just pushing it outwards, you see? Pushing it outwards, almost softening it into the tree behind. There we go. Then I'm going to start making a very browny pinky colour. So let's get some magenta, some burnt umber. And the trick with this is lots of magenta, because I'm then going to add a touch of blue. And that small touch of blue with the magenta will give you a purpley, browny, plum kind of a colour. Okay? But the burnt umber is warming it. You see what I mean? Burnt umber keeps it warm. Let's just paint this in, cover all of this in here. And you can see again, I'm being nice and thin with my paint. I'm not putting on too much. Very, very dry kind of a layer, okay? And I'm softening that out into this other one. And even down into the bottom as well, look. How about that? Now I'm going to put some accent colour on the ground as well. See? Just to go from that tree down into the floor here. Just a little accent, that's all. And after this now, really, it's just a matter of having some fun. Having some fun with your brush. What you could do, for example, is let's get some, let's get a fan brush. Okay, I'm going to get a fan brush. Have a bit of fun with this. I'm going to take some white and some crimson. Let's take lots of this now, yes? Lots and lots of this. And a tiny touch of phaylo. Let's have a bit of fun. See if we can create something nice here. It doesn't have to look exactly the same. Let's just say I want it to look like something that's kind of swooping upwards. First, let's try that. So I'm simply now just going to have myself a bit of fun with this. I'm just being very, very messy with all of this. Very messy. Okay, so I'll start with that. Then I'm going to start putting in lots of little branches and things like that. Don't be shy. Come on, let's get the little brush out. Get some magenta with burnt umber. And a little black. Don't be shy. I find with a lot of beginners, they sit and they think a little too much about what they're going to do next. Me, I rather just grab my brush and go for it, because the more you sit and think, the more confused you become about what you actually want and what you want to achieve out of the painting. So I prefer to just grab the brush and go. Now, let's just give this a lot of little flicks like this. And what you'll notice is it's just mixing in with the white, and that's fine, okay? That's absolutely fine. That helps. Plenty of magenta now into this. Don't be shy with the magenta. And it's simply a case of, look, just lots of little flicks with your brush, little dabs. You're just giving a very rough impression of a tree, with lots of little, perhaps a couple of little leaves falling off, that kind of thing. So you're being very, very loose with this. Very loose. Look, just a couple of little dabs. Be careful not to go too thick with them, okay? Just nice and careful. Have some fun. A palette knife is a great way to do this as well. Palette knives are fantastic for lots of different things. I'm going to go with some thick black now, just on its own. A nice watery black, but a nice real black colour. And just pop a little. See, look, I'm just letting the black kind of flick off, and it's just kind of landing where it wants to land. Understand what I mean? A bit of crimson there as well. Okay, so you're kind of starting to get the idea now, aren't you? Next now, I think I'm going to just pop some little bits of a bright colour onto some of those branches. So a little bit of white here and there. And don't worry, I will be going on with some white in just a moment. So I'm going to try a palette knife. And what I'm going to do is take some white with some crimson. I'll try that first. Get myself a nice warm pink. And look, simply going to just drag it across here and there. And I'm using the edge of my palette knife for this. Then I move into a little bit of white. Now you can take your time and you can just do like a normal tree on this if you like. You don't have to paint this kind of a big, broad type of a tree. It's completely up to yourself. You can do just a normal tree. Now I will put in extra branches on this when it's dry, I think. I think it needs a couple of extra ones. But for now, look, I'm just going to go in down here and put in some solid dark branches coming out from the bottom. Then maybe just some white, and pop some white little flicks here and there. And at the end of the day, look, it's your painting and you can do whatever you like. Just remember that. You don't have to copy someone's painting just because you feel their painting is right. You just make it your own. Do you know what I mean? You're adding your own touch to your painting. You don't have to copy, even with photographs, you don't have to copy them exactly, okay? And don't try and copy a photograph exactly, because it's much more fun doing it just freestyle by yourself, okay? It's just a lot more fun. Now, I'm going to take a small brush, just very quickly now, small flat brush, and I'm going to pop some dark in under here. So just to help that tree sit down a little better, I'm going to pop some dark blue in under that tree, okay? Plenty of crimson, or sorry, magenta. Blue with plenty of magenta, okay? Don't be shy. That'll just help the tree sit down a little bit better. I'm going to put like a rock around here, so I'm putting in some dark in there as well. A little bit more magenta. And then almost soften it through into the tree, okay? Look, let that all just soften upwards. Now, a small rock. Let's put in a small little rock, should we? I'm going to get some black and mix it into that blue. Put in a small rock around here. It's just really to add a feature to the landscape, that's all. It's not there's no other reason for it particularly. I can see it, there's a bit of a rock there just on the landscape. I think just to add a little bit of interest might not be a bad idea, don't you think? So let's just try it. Let's pop a little rock in there, just with lots of dark colours. Look, a bit of black, a bit of blue, a bit of pink in there. Okay, just like that. And then I'm going to clean that brush and take a small brush. Let's get some highlight colour. Let's take some white and some magenta. Pop a little highlight on that, just here and there. You can see it's all just kind of mixing together on the canvas, and that's fine. Absolutely fine. I'm just dabbing some light colours here and there. Okay? That just gives it a little touch of life. That's all it does. Now I'm going to take some phthalo blue and lots of white. Perhaps then with a little touch of magenta again. Magenta and phthalo blue are two of probably the most used colours in this painting. Wouldn't you agree? I'm just going to pop a little. No, I need a bit more blue actually. I'm going to pop a little bit of that colour just here and there. Sort of sit them down where they are, okay? Just to sit them down and even soften it downwards as well. Then I'm going to get some bright colour. I'm going to go with a light pinky white, some crimson and white, and I'm just going to sort of add some of that bright colour here and there. It just has a bit of contrast, really, that's all. And let's get plenty of pink in this now, and a touch of Naples yellow as well. Look, let's warm it slightly. Get some nice warm colours. You can see I'm simply just dragging it around. All I want to do is just create that rough snowy feeling, that's all. That's all I want to do. Nice snowy feeling. And I'm even going to just start softening together the rocks just a little bit more, so they're not as pronounced and not kind of sticking out too much on the canvas. Do you understand what I mean? Soften them down a little bit more. Okay. Now, so I'm just looking here and there, just to see what's what. Pop a little bit of rock there, a little bit there. And I could even go and pop just the impression of little bits of rock popping out here and there, even off in the distance as well. Pop the impression of one or two, just even by the riverbank. Look, just little dabs of, tiny dabs of colour. See what I mean? And then I'm going to get some white. I'm going to get a very bright colour. I don't have much white left now, but I might get away with this. I'm just going to pop a little touch of white here and there, just off in the distance, okay? Just to add some more snow here and there. Just with the tip of your pointy brush, look, just tiny bit of it just here and there. A couple of little dabs. It doesn't have to resemble anything as such. It's just a very bright colour, just to accentuate some of the lights on the snow. That's all. And my friends, I think we're pretty much done. I don't really feel the need to have to keep going at this. I just wanted to show you just a nice, simple, quick little tutorial. And pop a little touch of the Naples yellow off in the distance. I just wanted to show you this very quick and easy little snow scene, and you know how you can achieve nice results very easily. You don't have to spend hours and hours and hours on something. You really don't. A little bit of blue on some of those, just to soften them back a little bit. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to spend so long doing little scenes like this. If you try to just get past all of the details and simplify it, it does work much easier. So that's kind of pretty much what I would say to you. Try and get past the details. I'm going to take a little tiny bit of white now again, just for that rock. I just think it needs a little bit of light. Nice, thick, chunky snow resting on it just here and there. That's better, isn't it? There we are. And last but not least, my little friend, the bird. I call him my little friend because he's in all my paintings, and I think it just needs a little bird off in the distance. You could put a little boat in there if you wanted. Of course, you could add lots of little things, a little fence. In fact, look, what I'm going to do is, what I'm going to add as well is a little extra branch just down here coming in. It could be like just a bit of a dead tree or something like that. See? You can add all of these things in. And there doesn't need to be any reason for it. It's just that you want to encourage the viewer to sort of just look around, that's all. Okay, look, just little touches of something. There we go. And that's fine. My friends, I will call it finished, and I will say to you, happy painting. And thank you so much for watching. And there we go. Nice simple painting. Simply done, but I think very eye-catching. A nice simple snow scene. It's the colours that catch your eye in a snow scene, I find. So nice rich blues and pinks. Don't be shy. Snow doesn't always have to be just white, okay? It can have lots of colours. I'm going to soften these ones back just ever so slightly, look. Just take them back just a little bit. There we go. Clean my hands. And my friends, I'm done. Thank you so much. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. That's a nice simple snow scene. Very colourful, very eye-catching with a lovely little frame. I think that's going to look lovely. Thank you so much, my friends. Thank you all my patrons for your support. Thank you so much. I'll be getting through some requests on Patreon for you, alright? Very, very soon, in the next couple of days. So, until then, thank you very much for tuning in. Do subscribe. If you would like to follow me along, something new every week. Let me know what you think of that, and do send me your interpretations. It's at stephenconway12@gmail.com. Don't be afraid to send me on and look for advice, okay? Any questions whatsoever, just ask. I'll see you very soon. God bless and happy painting, my friends.